My name is Margot Hayes, and I'm 68 years old. What I'm about to tell you turned my quiet life in the hollows of West Virginia upside down and proved that blood ain't always thicker than greed. The day we buried my husband Ernest was the coldest November afternoon Willow Hollow had seen in years. The wind whipped down from the Appalachian ridges, carrying the faint smell of coal dust that never quite leaves these parts. 05D59B 073079883 ed. I stood there beside the grave in the little cemetery behind the Baptist church, my black coat pulled tight, watching the preacher say words over a casket that suddenly felt all wrong. My sons, Charles and Henry, stood on either side of me, tall, suited men now, with Charleston polish that didn't quite hide the mountain boy underneath. Their faces were solemn, but their eyes, something about their eyes was too calm, too dry. That's when my phone buzzed in my pocket. An unknown number. The message read, "I'm alive." That's not me in the ground. My knees nearly buckled. I gripped the edge of the folding chair Doris, my oldest friend, had set out for me. With shaking fingers, I typed back, "Who is this?" The reply came fast. "Can't say yet. They're watching. Don't trust the boys." I looked up. Charles was staring at his watch. Henry was scanning the small crowd like he was waiting for something to go wrong. My world tilted. 45 years with Ernest. Raising those boys in our little house on the family land, and now this? Ernest and I met when we were barely out of high school. Willow Hollow was a coal town back then, booming with mines dotting the hills like black mouths. Ernest's daddy worked the number 9 mine until black lung took him. Ernest swore he'd never go underground, so he fixed trucks and equipment topside instead. I waitressed at the diner on Route 52, saving every tip to help my mama after Daddy died in a slate fall. One rainy afternoon in 1978, Ernest came in soaked, grease on his hands, and ordered coffee. He smiled shy at me and said, "Margot, you reckon a fella like me could take you to the county fair?" I said yes before he finished the sentence. We married in the spring, bought 200 acres of hillside land that had been in his family since the 1800s, and built a modest house with our own hands. The boys came quick, Charles in 80, Henry 2 years later. We weren't rich, but we had enough. Ernest hunted deer in fall, I canned vegetables from the garden, and we raised those boys to respect the land. Sundays we'd sit on the porch swing. 382107 2A6440. Watching fireflies while Ernest told stories about his grandpappy finding coal seams with nothing but a divining rod. But times changed. The mines started closing in the 90s. Jobs dried up. Charles was always the ambitious one, hated getting dirty, dreamed of city lights. When he turned 18, Ernest offered him work in the garage he'd opened. Charles sneered, "I ain't spending my life with grease under my nails like you, Dad. I'm gonna be somebody." Those words cut Ernest deep, though he never showed it much. Henry, quieter, always followed Charles's lead. They both left for Charleston after college. Real estate, big money in natural gas leases when the fracking boom hit. At first, we were proud. They sent money, bought us a new truck we didn't ask for. But visits grew rare. Phone calls shorter. When they came it was in shiny SUVs talking about portfolios and mineral rights. Then the surveys started. Companies sniffing around our land. Turns out an old seam ran deep under our property, and new horizontal drilling made it valuable. Millions potentially. Charles and Henry suddenly got real interested. "You and Dad should lease the rights," Charles said one Thanksgiving, slicing turkey like he owned the place. "We can handle the negotiations. Get you set for life." Ernest wasn't having it. "This land's been Hayes land since before West Virginia was a state. Ain't selling our birthright for some company's pocket change." The arguments got heated. Jasmine, Charles's wife from Charleston, all high heels and city attitude, rolled her eyes whenever she visited. "Y'all could move to a nice condo. This house is practically falling down." We weren't burdens. Ernest still hunted, fixed neighbors' tractors for cash or barter. I sold quilts at the craft co-op. We were fine. But the pressure mounted. Papers showed up for signatures. Appraisers came uninvited. Charles talked about early inheritance like it was nothing. One night after they left, Ernest sat on the porch staring at the ridges. Margot, money's changed our boys. They don't see us anymore, just what's underneath our feet, I defended them, like always. They're just looking out for us, but deep down, I felt the chill. The accident happened on a crisp October morning. Ernest went hunting up on the ridge, like he had 1,000 times. Deer season opener. He kissed me goodbye at dawn, rifle slung over his shoulder. Back by lunch, darlin'. Maybe bring home a buck. When he didn't come home by dark, I called the sheriff. Search parties went out at first light. They found his body at the bottom of a steep ravine, neck broken, rifle nearby. Tragic fall, the coroner said. Probably slipped on wet leaves. Charles and Henry arrived before I even got the official call. They handled everything: the funeral home, the simple service. Too simple. Ernest loved a good send-off with bluegrass and stories. But the boys wanted it quick. At the graveside, that text hit me like lightning. I hid the phone, told no one. That night alone in our bed that smelled like him, I got another message: check the insurance policies. They pushed me to increase them. I dug through Ernest's old metal box in the closet. Sure enough. 6 months earlier, the life insurance had jumped from $10,000 to $250,000. A new accidental death rider too. Ernest's signature looked shaky, not like his usual firm hand. Next message: look at his rifle. The stock was tampered with. I drove to the sheriff's evidence locker the next day, claiming I needed Ernest's things. The deputy let me see the rifle. The butt stock had fresh scratches, like someone had loosened it, made it unstable for recoil kick. My hand shook. Someone had sabotaged it. The texts kept coming, guiding me. The sender identified himself finally. Jack Harlan, retired miner turned private investigator. Ernest had hired him 3 weeks before the accident. When the pressure got too intense, meet me at the old number 7 mine entrance, the last text said. Come alone. The abandoned mine was up a winding dirt road, overgrown with kudzu. The entrance gaped like a dark mouth in the hillside. 0D0B79 9A8831. Jack was waiting, weather-beaten face, Carhartt jacket, eyes sharp as a hawk. Margot, he said softly. Ernest ain't dead. My heart stopped. What? He suspected the boys were getting desperate. Hired me to watch him. That morning, I was tailing him on the hunt, far back. Saw the fall. But when Charles and Henry showed up fast, too fast, I got suspicious. Went down after they left with the body. Ernest was breathing. Barely. Broken ribs, concussion, but alive. Where is he? Jack led me into the mine, flashlight cutting the dark. 50 yards in, a side tunnel had been cleared. There, on a cot with lanterns and supplies, lay my Ernest. Bandaged, pale, but breathing. Ernest. I fell to my knees beside him, his eyes fluttered open. Margot, knew you'd come. Jack explained. He'd pulled Ernest out, staged the body with a deer dummy from his truck, waited, clothed in Ernest's spare jacket. The boys, in their rush, never checked close. Coroner was overworked, signed off quick. Jack had been nursing Ernest in secret, feeding him info through the burner phone. Why not go to the police right away? Because we needed proof, Jack said. The boys are smart. Covered tracks good. But Ernest recorded conversations on his phone before the hunt, hid it in the truck. We listened that night. Charles's voice, cold as January creek water. Once the old man's gone, we get the insurance and force Mom to sign the mineral rights. She's too soft, won't fight us. Henry, the rifle stock, just loosen it enough. Recoil will do the rest. Looks like accident every time. My blood ran cold. My own sons. Over the next weeks, Jack and I gathered more. Bank records showed Charles drowning in debt, bad real estate flips. Henry gambling away lease commissions. They needed fast money, and our land plus insurance was it. They started pressing me harder. Mom, with Dad gone, you can't manage this place alone. Sign the lease, we'll handle everything. I played grieving widow, buying time. The breaking point came when they called a town hall meeting to discuss community benefits from the Hayes land development. Half the town showed up, lured by promises of jobs. 705B4E8BF9B9. Charles stood at the podium in the VFW hall, slick as ever. This gas lease will bring prosperity back to Willow Hollow. My mother supports it fully. I stood up from the back row. The room went quiet. No, I don't. I played the recordings on the hall sound system, every damning word. Gasps. Murmurs. Then outrage. Charles went pale. Mom, you're grieving. I'm clear-headed enough to know my sons tried to murder their father for money. The sheriff was there, Jack had tipped him off. Deputies moved in. Charles tried to run, Henry just sat down, defeated. The trial in Charleston 6 months later was a media circus, the Appalachian parricide case, for 82A35 CCF 29C. Ernest testified from the stand, thin but alive, telling how he felt the rifle kick wrong, the fall, waking up with Jack. Forensic experts confirmed tampering. The jury took 4 hours. Guilty. Attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud. Life sentences. Today, 5 years later, Ernest and I still sit on our porch most evenings. The land is in a community trust now, mineral rights leased fair, profits funding scholarships for local kids and mine reclamation. No big company gets rich off it alone. Charles sent one letter from prison, apologies, regret. I didn't reply. Some betrayals cut too deep. But every spring, when the red buds bloom along the ridges, Ernest takes my hand and says, we held on to what matters, Margot. And I know he's right. The mountains teach you that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the cost.